Mr. Pratap Raju, who is the co-founder of Climate Studio and the Climate Collective. Bachelor's degree at Harvard University and a master's degree at Oxford University, Pratap co-founded the Climate Collective, which focuses on building the ecosystem for climate and clean tech entrepreneurship throughout India and South Asia, including startup accelerators, policy research for local government, educational programs, and much more. Our next panelist, Ms. Jui Joshi, is the manager and head of impact at the Climate Collective. Jui has over 8 years of experience in academic and social development sector. She is the program director for Women in Climate Entrepreneurship Initiative, supporting women entrepreneurs in climate and clean tech pan-India. Pratap and Jui will be co-presenting today. So without any further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Pratap and Ms. Jui to share their journeys of being eco-entrepreneurs with us. Over to you, Pratap and Jui.
Hi, great. Thank you very much. It's great being here. And I want to thank everyone from UNICEF and UNDP, everyone who's been putting this together. Something we can really do is think about green jobs today. It is, after this pandemic, a way we can recover and rebuild better. With myself, I have Jui. She's a partner actually at the Climate Collective, and we've been building this together with our team over the last few years. I myself have been an entrepreneur for many years, and like a typical entrepreneur, lots of successes and lots of failures. They come together oftentimes, as many entrepreneurs will actually tell you when you hear their story. But we've been working with clean tech entrepreneurs since the last 5 years here in India and South Asia, and we want to share some of the stuff that we've seen. It's some pretty amazing stuff. I'm going to share my screen. This is a deck called the AHA Slides. It's similar to Mentimeter, meaning that if you want to participate and join in the interactivity, there's a link at the very top. Prakriti, I think there's a link in the chat as well. You just go onto that chat and you can join the questions and Q&A and all the other stuff. I'm going to hand this over to Jui right now to kind of tell you a little bit more first about the Climate Collective.
Thanks, Pratap, and thanks, Prakriti, and thanks, Neha, and everybody on the team for inviting us here. It's really exciting to be here and be amongst all the youth here. It's been really lovely to hear the first session as well. We've been working with 2 of the entrepreneurs out of the 3 the first session, so really great to hear them as well here. And there was a question asked that what's your inspiration? And I would say that I keep telling everyone that I'm a great cross between what is a green job and also be a part of entrepreneurship, because we've been building Climate Collective as well together. But I understand what it is being a green job, because this is also a job for me. And my inspiration is just working with these wonderful entrepreneurs every single day. So I work with like hundreds and hundreds of these every day, which is like amazing. So with that, a little background to Climate Collective. We are a non-profit. We started off in 2018 formally, but we're working a little before that. Pratap comes with a great background in clean tech. He was a solo entrepreneur before, and then moved on to starting Climate Collective. We work in startup support, specifically in climate and clean tech startups. Our main program that we started off with it has been the Climate Kick program, which is the European Union's leading climate initiative. So we run this program called Climate Launchpad, which is a program run globally across more than 55 countries, so really the largest clean tech program that there is. And we run this in India as well as South Asia, also UAE now. Through this, just to give a scale, we've supported more than 450 entrepreneurs in early stages. So we see a lot of innovation out there, and most of them are youth. So definitely a lot of young entrepreneurs, coming into these programs. We also, so we've been building programs around this main flagship program, Climate Launchpad. So we have earlier stage programs called Climate Ready for Women, because what we observed was that not a lot of women entrepreneurs were coming into our programs at all, which was really sad to see, because women are disproportionately affected by climate change, and they should be leading the way when it comes to fighting climate change through innovation. So we started this program called Climate Ready for Women, which is an accelerator for women-led startups. Started off with a pilot in Kerala, where I met Aparna as well, was in the previous session. And we've done other cohorts as well, specifically in upcycling businesses as well through this program. We also have actually another program specifically for students called Climate Ready for Students, which also integrates into Climate Launchpad further. So it's a great integrative approach that we take by supporting students beforehand, making them ready, know what's to be done, building the right skills, and then moving on to Climate Launchpad post that. And then, I mean, we have a range of programs, right, from ideation to deployment ready startups. So anywhere in the startup stage that you are in climate or clean tech, we really work across startup stages. Okay. I'll hand it over to Pratap to talk about some of the opportunities that we see through this.
Great. Now, it's always amazing whenever we do this with a younger crowd. Everybody gets onto AHA slides, and these are amazing numbers. We sometimes struggle in normal panels to get people to come on, although for some reason there are 4 sad faces, so I'm not sure why. I hope you could tell me at the end. When we started in 2016 in supporting startups, it was a very lonely place here generally. There weren't the ecosystem was very nascent. It was just starting. And something amazing happened the last 2 years. Everybody started to look at climate from a startup angle, or a lot of people, I should say. And all of a sudden, in a very short amount of time, everywhere we look, there are people doing circular economy. I mean, we have so many from like Seher, who was on the panel before, Aparna from Iglupupa, Abhishek as well. Circular economy, plastic waste, EV charging stations, carbon offset programs. It's coming everywhere, partially because we have so many environmental problems and we need so many solutions as well. So something special is happening on the ground here in India and South Asia. At the same time, even globally, something amazing is happening. There is this view that we can really do something about the environment through a startup, something that, when we think startups, it would be IT, food delivery, etc. When we think climate, we think CSR, maybe something nonprofit, but now the worlds are colliding together. We want to share a little bit about this. It starts from this idea when you think about climate change. It starts from our view, how do we feel about climate change? For those who haven't used slides, you just have to type in the word. How do you feel? The IPCC report just came out 2 weeks ago, I think. And like every IPCC report that has been coming out the last 20 years, it gets seemingly worse and worse. And that makes it tougher. Anyone? Now, if you see a lot of...
I think it says submission stopped, so maybe you need to open it.
All right, you're right. Thank you. There are lots of ways we can do things about, things for the climate, campaigns, sometimes politics, but not so much here. And there's a great variety of feelings, scared, guilty, disturbing, grim, optimistic, of course. And this is because if we see what's happening, it is scary, for sure. And we have to do something, not just for ourselves, but for all of us. Some people will be impacted more. The poor will be impacted more than anyone else. And all of us, perhaps, to some degree as well. Yeah. There's a quote I use, though, and I do believe this is the spirit of entrepreneurship as well. It's from an early 4th century church father, St. Augustine. Nothing great has ever been achieved without hope. And I think most entrepreneurs will tell you whether they're climate or not, this is necessary. It's a hard angle. When I started 20 years ago as an entrepreneur, we did not have startup programs. AIM was not there. You know, UNICEF and UNDP and others supporting climate action were, at least relatively speaking, a lot like what we see now. It was hard. It still is hard to be an entrepreneur. That's something I think you heard already. But you have one thing you need to start this journey definitely is this positive mindset. Great. Now, what do we need to reach net zero? Net zero means, you know, carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases. You may have heard it's one of these contributing factors to climate change or global warming. What do we need? You know, do we need money, leaders, policy, innovation? Right? And I do know that there seems to be a big jump in more innovation, perhaps because we're in an innovation panel as well. But there is an answer. We need all of it. It's a complex problem. It definitely requires money. You know, this transition is going to be expensive for some. We need to adapt to a new world. We need policy leaders, political, social, even inside our own family. We need to explain to siblings or parents what's happening. Policy from the government side, and everything is moving. We also need innovation, and that is where clean tech startups can play a role. But why innovation? I think some of us know that there's a solar wind boom happening in India. And so why not just build more solar and wind plants? We know that there's increasing action. At least some of us know that the government's moving towards, for example, something called EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility, meaning if you cause a problem, it's your responsibility. For example, plastic waste. Now, couldn't we use with capital policies? Aren't we there? Well, it turns out it's only part of the battle. When you have so much solar and wind being built, it causes problems to our grid, electricity grid. So we need to find solutions. When you put so much solar in deserts or in places that are water deficit, we have another problem. How do we clean our solar panels? It takes water to clean those panels with less water or maybe even no water. If we're going to ask corporates to track their waste, plastic waste, for example, well, how do they know where that waste is ending up and whose waste it is? There are many opportunities like this for entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs have a special ability to do this that corporates can't. I don't know what it is, but it's something having to do with not taking no for an answer, just believing something, taking that risk. It's something that we've seen over the last 20 years with startups outpacing big, large corporates. We need to do this fast. Now, if this is the International Energy Agency, if we need to solve net zero, meaning no more GHG, greenhouse gases being emitted from what we do as humans, or at least net zero by 2070, 1/3 of our technologies don't exist today. We need entrepreneurs for this. And if we need to do this by 2015, and we do, it's even worse. So there are tremendous opportunities. Even the circular economy, very similar principle here as well. Are startups the way though? Now, can startups do this? Now, I'm going to hand this back to, I'm going to share with you something that we've seen. We had the privilege, as Jui mentioned, of meeting a lot of entrepreneurs over the last few years, and we meet a lot. And these are entrepreneurs that perhaps will be you in a few years, or maybe even you are right. Some of you may be right now. Things that we can do as an entrepreneur is solve a problem. What are some of these problems? Electric vehicles. They're coming out everywhere. It seems to be something that could help us lead to this action against climate change by electrifying vehicles. And as our electricity grid has more renewables, then we reduce the use of fossil fuels in our cars and our trucks. Now, the problem is it's expensive, especially when in India, where we don't have the same initial generous subsidies. They'll come as this all takes time. There is one use case, which is rickshaws. Rickshaws ply the road from a short distance, at least in big cities. It's easy to think about putting charging stations in big population or dense areas so rickshaws can recharge. One thing I learned recently, I don't know why recently though, but Bangladesh has 10 lakh electric rickshaws and vehicles, mopeds already, and this is outdated information. So one of our startups, a good engineering team from I think maybe from university, they started retrofitting existing rickshaws at a price of 30 rupees per kit. Instead of building brand new, shiny, new rickshaws, they just provide the battery, reinstalled it, and voila, you have a solution. And of course, there's a positive benefit as anytime we electrify the vehicles, as I mentioned. Maybe another example, okay, waste. There's lots of waste problems. One problem, sorry, I was supposed to turn this over to Jui. Jui, you want to take over? Please.
Right. Okay, thanks. So another problem, as Pratap was saying, is fly ash from thermal power plants that we have in plentiful. And what to do of this fly ash, because they are a great source of pollution everywhere. This is insulated ceramics, and what they do is they capture this fly ash and make various eco-friendly novel products from it. So that, if you can go to the next slide. Right. So they make yeah. So if you can see this, the thermal power stations, they capture fly ash, and then they turn it into ceramic tiles, industrial insulations, because fly ash makes for wonderful insulations, which are lightweight as well, decorative products, etc. So this is how they are really, making use of the fly ash and converting into circular economy. Brook in Blooms. This is a wonderful startup out of Gujarat that we worked with. And as you know, India has so many temples, and a lot of devotional flowers are being offered everywhere in the temples. And what happens to these flowers? They just get, they just go into the rivers and a complete waste there, right? What Brook and Bloom does is they capture these flowers and turn them into natural products. So what they do is they turn this into essence sticks as well as fertilizer at the same time from these devotional flowers. Does that can go to the next slide? Right. So Brook and Bloom sells these fertilizers made from devotional flowers to farmers. That was their first deal. So first, what they were doing is that they would capture these flowers, convert them into fertilizers and essence sticks, and they would sell it to the nearby farmers in the area. But they were really not getting enough money from it. So that's where really businesses and how business models changing really helps businesses is important here. Is that they were not making enough money because farmers, in a sense, weren't paying so much for fertilizers to them. So what they did was they pivoted, and they found that in urban areas, people with terrace gardening and middle class homes with terraces, they sold these fertilizers to these middle class homes. And there's a sentimental value. So when I know that my fertilizer is coming from temple waste, I wouldn't mind giving a premium.
Thank you so much, Pratap and Jui, for your wonderful presentation.